So welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jax. Today is January 3rd, 2024. Very excited for the new year. Very excited for, just all sorts of great things. We've got a fun January planned, or I do. I've got an exciting February. It was going to be full of excitement for the next several months as we're working our way through the first part of the year. But we're going to get started with Scrapbook Live. The layout I have for you today is a kind of a recent one. It's using the Nordic Winter collection, and I really like it. It's simple, and honestly, today, guys, I needed simple. It's been so a little bit crazy. I mentioned earlier, my son is headed back to college today, so we are wrapping, getting him giving him the mom hugs, the drive safe, all that kind of, the obligatory mom sentences that I tell him. I have to tell him. It's like written in the whatever bylaws of being a parent. But hopefully this layout will come together pretty quickly. So I did realize on the handout today, which is on you can get the handout from my blog. It is originally a Creative Memories blog. There is a link on the handout. There's a QR code up there that'll take you to the Creative Memories blog. And I do give you the date of the blog. It was actually from December 15th. So just a couple weeks ago that they put this one on the Creative Memories blog. I did forget to put the hashtag at the bottom. I think I grabbed an old handout that I modified to be for today, and it just didn't have the handout or the hashtag. Today's hashtag will be hashtag Scrapbook Live 0103. So if you want to write that at the bottom of your handout, that'd be great. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to my overhead cam and we will go ahead and get started. So here we go. You can see that it's the layout uses for the Nordic Winter. It's pretty straightforward, but it's got some nice details. For being such a simple layout, it's got some really nice details in there. The handy dandy corner rounder is going to be in here. We got some mats, and we're using one sheet of paper, both sides, and it all should come together well. So the pictures that I have are from, we had a couple of game nights when my son was home from college. When Cody's involved, we play Uno because he's learning to hold his cards, and it's a game that he can easily play. When he's not involved and he's upstairs maybe playing a video game or otherwise occupied, we do have a tendency with my older children, we play a little bit of Cards Against Humanity. I'm not sure if you guys play that one. It's pretty raunchy, so you got to have a pretty generous sense of humor, I guess, but we do enjoy some Cards Against Humanity. So I decided with the game night theme, I knew that in the Staycation collection that I still have in my stash, there were some items in there, a set of playing cards, little embellishments, and a little tag that says game night. There is another embellishment that says family time. It has the tiles, the Scrabble tiles on there. So I grabbed those embellishments and I thought, great. It was also a chance to use up some more of that the Staycation. So one of the full sheets I had left was this yellow, golden yellow, has some sunshine to it. I'm not so worried about the sunshine. I liked that the back side was fairly tonal. So instead of having kind of more of a higher contrast, you can see on their layout, they have the brown versus the blue. Those are the same side of that sheet of paper from the Nordic Winter collection. I decided to go a little bit more tonal with mine, so it won't be so high contrast between the different sections of the layout, but I will be bringing in some contrast. I need some paper to mat my photos. You can see they use kind of a light blue. You could use cardstock, anything that you think coordinates. I've got this darker navy tonal paper from Staycation. And then I've got some photos to go across the bottom. I printed some 3x4s. I print these on my Epson PM400. I print them as 4x6s, 2 3x4s on one 4x6. So it's printed like this. I can do that with the Epson Creative Print app. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And then I cut them apart. Now, the only thing there was a bit of a challenge is I had some vertical photos. You can see in the layout, they're all vertical photos. Now, I had a little bit of a challenge because I didn't have a lot of vertical photos. The vertical photos were all like individual photos, whereas I wanted to be able to show kind of some of us playing the game. Unfortunately, the one selfie I took where I was in it turned out terrible. But I had some horizontal photos. So I printed up 2 of those stacked on top of each other, and I'll use those in place of one vertical image. So up here at the top and then across the bottom, I will have the photos coming across the bottom. And then I've got a mat over here that I'm going to use more. Instead of a big photo here, I'm going to go ahead and just do more of an embellishment cluster journaling box type thing over on this section. All right, so you can kind of see where this is headed. All right, so here we go. I do have to laugh at Judy. She's commenting that, you know, her kids refused, her adult children refused to play Cards Against Humanity with her and her husband. I will admit, I don't know that I play that game with my mother. So I just don't know that I could. And maybe part of my tradition of playing that with my parents is why I like to play with my kids, because some of the things that we laugh about, my kids just, you know, they're rolling their eyes. It's pretty funny. Okay, so back into this layout here. The first thing we need to do is we do need a background piece of paper, because our designer paper, we're going to cut it up into 4 sections, and I need something to mat it to. I could come back and like do all the paper welding, but I'm going to make it easy for today's sake, and we're just going to use a piece of paper. I have got the back side of the cover sheet of one of the paper packs. This is a little bit of the one that's a little bit thicker, more a cardstock thickness, but you could use one of the current ones. It's a little bit more the designer paper. Once you put 2 of those sections together, it's going to be, it'll be fine if you use the lighter weight paper versus a cardstock. All right. So I've got my background paper. This is my designer paper. I do not have a direction to this paper. Both sides of this paper are non-directional. So if you have a direction to your paper, you need to make sure when you're making your first cut, we're going to cut this in half at 6 inches. And you need to make sure that your first cut that you make at 6 inches, if you have a top edge of your paper, that your top is at the top. Wherever your directional paper needs to be, have that be the side that's facing up. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and cut this at 6 inches. I'm cutting it in half. Now, if you have a direction on one side and you have a direction on the other, you kind of need to make sure they're both going the same direction. It's just going to be easier. So that's something to consider. I'm going to go ahead. I've got non-directional on both sides. I need to cut at 6 inches. If you have a direction, make sure the top, so if you've got trees or some other directional print, you want to make sure the top edge is at the top. Line it up at 6 inches, and we're going to go ahead and slice down. Now what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and rotate. Here's the top of my paper. I want this to be a 7-inch segment here. 7 inches from the top. So rotate, here's my top edge. You've got directional paper, top of your trees, your hearts, your words, whatever it may be, needs to be at the left edge over here at 7 inches. And I'll go ahead and cut. So now you can see here, this would be the first section, and then I'm going to just flip it over and have the bottom section. Now here, if you've got a direction to your paper, once again, top edge here, cut it at 7 inches. I guess I should bring this down so you can see it. And 7 inches at the top, or 7 inches is where we're cutting top edge. We'll go ahead and cut. This 5-inch segment gets placed here at the bottom. This goes at the top. We're going to flip it over, and there it is. So I see Belinda's comment about we didn't understand some of the questions in Cards Against, or the references in Cards Against Humanity made him Google. Oh my word. I will tell my children I refuse to Google with my phone. So if they don't know something or we don't know, they have to be the ones to Google it. I do not want that in my search history. But that is kind of funny too. All right, so here we've got this all on here. Now what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and adhere everything together. And I'm going to use a little bit of repo along some of the edges. I just want to make sure that my edges are all nice and secure against the paper, I guess you'd say. And I'm going to go ahead and then just use a little bit of regular adhesive in the corners. And this is going to be put on. And you're going to basically find a corner. So I'm coming here along the bottom left edge, okay? And I am going to go ahead and go flush with the bottom left edge, and then I'll build out from here. If my backing sheet is too big, I'll trim it off once I have it all set. So just putting that repo around, just make sure that that repo is going to help these edges just stay nice and tight and down on the paper. And then I'm going to go flush with the, right along here, I would have this nice and tight seam. And then just keep working these pieces on. So that if you do happen to play Uno, do you guys play where you can basically stack the draw twos and the draw fours on top of each other and really just kind of pile on one opponent? We have started doing that, and it's really, really funny, except for when it happens to Cody, because then it's all of a sudden you've got this little 9-year-old trying to like hold this massive amount of cards. And this was him after he had to literally draw like 6 cards because his older brother and sister have no mercy, right? There's no mercy. And there's really no mercy for anybody when you play Uno. But it was pretty funny. All right, so here we go. We are getting this on as such. This middle seam here, you do have the option to put a border element across here, and you could also do one here. So if your seams in the middle look a little wonky, especially along this edge, we will have a border that goes there or some sort of horizontal element. But all in all, there's my background. What's great about this one is if you need to carry it over into additional pages, you definitely could do so. The other thing you can do here that I want you to think about is you could put this together, and instead of building the second set here, I could have built this on a 6x6 piece of cardstock. I could have grabbed a 12x12 peekaboo pocket, built that all inside the peekaboo pocket, and then I could flip it open. So if you want to have a single page layout that expands using either the left or the right side, because this is 6 inches wide, building this section or this side, whichever side you want, and putting it in a peekaboo pocket would allow that to open up and expose a whole set of 12, or another, basically a 12x12 layout inside of that. So if you have more pictures from your game night or any other event that you want to share, you certainly could do this as the peekaboo. You could even double peekaboo it and open it up like barn doors. So something to think about, because we basically have 2 6-inch wide panels. That's really the key here, and really where you see to start to think about. When you've got a 6-inch panel, think, oh, I can tuck even more photos behind there if I want to use a peekaboo pocket. I'm not going to in this particular case, but I probably will save this layout for another one and do that with the peekaboo pocket. Okay, next up, I need to go ahead. I'm going to get my mats cut to go across the top. And at this point, I'm going to start with some dry fitting. I already have cut the photos they want you to do. They want you to use 4 by 5.5 inch photos, so not quite 4 by 6. I have already trimmed this photo down. It is a 4.5 by 5. And I am going to use this mat from the Staycation collection. The back side has the flowers on it, but this side is the rusty color with the some journal lines. And I've already trimmed it down. I cut it mostly at the bottom, a little bit off the top. So I need something to go behind these 2 pictures or 2 elements, and they want me to cut a 4.5 by 6 inch piece of paper to go behind that. what is fantastic is out of my scraps, I had this piece, and all I need to do is trim it down to 4.5 inches and then cut it in half at 6 inches. So I'm going to come over here, cut it to 4.5 inches, and then cut it in half at 6 inches. So now I've got my 2 mats. All right, so there's those elements there. I can tell here, I've got to make one little trim with my trimmer. I've got a little bit of white at the top of that photo. So there we go. So I'll be able to adhere those on without any problems. Now at the bottom is where I can go ahead and layer in, I can put in my other photos. Now what I need to do here is the detail of this particular layout that I really, really liked was down here at the bottom where they did the little notched corners on the smaller photos. Now you're wondering, how do I get those notched photos? Well, some of you, if you're familiar, you'll know you get them with the two-way corner rounder. We're all very, very familiar with the outside rounding of the corners. That's kind of been a staple for Creative Memories for a very, very long time. And you could use that. If you want to use that instead of the notch, you certainly can. If you want to use the notch, you get it by sliding your paper in from behind or from the back edge at the back corner. So I'm going to show you on just a random piece of paper here, or actually it's the directions. I'm going to show you, just insert your paper into that back side. You're going to see the corner peek out above the screw. And you can see those little raised embossed lines there. You can use those to help you make sure your paper is square. Sometimes I just aim for the middle of the screw. I can tell that see how it's divided that screw. Well, you can't really tell. You kind of tell. And then you just cut. And there you can see it's made that notched edge. I would, if you have never used your notched edge, if you've never used this backside edge, I would practice. Practice a little bit to make sure that, because one of the things you can do, and the reason I talked about centering, is it is easy to get off, to be off. See here, like I've got it pressed over and I'm more to the side of the screw. And you can tell I'm not lined up with those embossed lines, but sometimes when you get going too fast, you can mess up. So make sure you take your time when you're using the notched edge to get everything nice and centered before you notch, because the worst thing is notching and then realize you've notched at a wonky angle. So I'm going to go around all my photos and I am going to notch the edges, the corners. If you don't want to notch, or you don't have the two-way corner rounder, you can use the regular, you can round the corners. That would work really well. You can also just round two opposite corners. And that's kind of a different look, a little bit of like, kind of like that retro mod look. I've done it before for sure. And I think it's pretty cool. Just work your way all the way around. Like I said, take your time though. You do not want to notch at a funny angle. If you do happen to notch at a funny angle, you can trim things down a little bit smaller. But with the photos here, because of the way I want them to sit side by side with each other, I really don't want to have to cut them any smaller. I would probably just reprint if I needed to. All right, I have one more to do after this. It does take a little bit of time. I don't think it's quite as fast as corner rounding, just because I want to make sure I take that time. One more. I did make sure when I was putting these photos, when I was printing them, I was setting up the little collage within the Creative Print app on Epson, that I was making sure that the corners, that I left enough space in those corners. You don't notch a whole lot. It's not a lot that you're taking off, but it can be a little bit. Like here, I wanted, you know, if I wanted to make sure I didn't chop off his elbow, I just made sure that I, you know, left a little bit of space there when I didn't like zoom in on the crop. So this technique with the notched edges, it matched, you can, they did it as part of this layout for Nordic Winter, but we've also are seeing it in some of the adventure parks layouts because it really matches the admission ticket border punch really well. So it works great there. And I do see a comment from Jill that she has the original corner rounder, and if you have the original corner rounder, you can't do this with the original corner rounder. So it is something to think about. Maybe put it on your wish list as a chance to upgrade to the new one, because that notched edge really is pretty slick. It is a nice little additional detail. So next time you're placing an order and you have a little bit of space before you hit that next shipping level, is to go ahead, maybe toss in that the new corner rounder. Okay, so here we go. We can see those at the bottom of the page. Now what I need to do is decide, what am I going to come across here and have? So I've got some options. I could just come in with kind of this, it's the location point things out of, it's a scrap, it's a strip of paper that I had. I thought I could do that and come across there. I like the fact that it brought in some additional color. The other thought I had was some stickers. I do have, this is out of like the winter stickers from maybe last year. I liked this zigzag. I thought maybe the zigzag could come across here. Just keeps it nice and simple, not too crazy. It's kind of hard for you guys to see that. I think what I might do is, if I were to do that, is I might come in with a little bit of the blue, the navy behind it. There's navy zigzag stitches in it. And that's really nice. The other option was I could cut, I loved this stripe mat in the Staycation mat pack. What you can do here is you can come in and I could trim, well, I'm not gonna be able to do it with that. We'll go ahead and cut. I could trim, I'm gonna trim some 1/2 inch pieces with this. Some 1/2 inch strips, and I could layer those on. Now they obviously, it's not going to be perfect because I'd have to get them to overlap a little bit. I have to figure out that, but I've got the ability to overlap. I kind of like that only because I like bringing in the brighter colors, but what I'm curious about trying is I have some more of the blue. I think what I'm going to do is I cut this at 1/2 inch. I'm going to cut this at, we'll go just a little bit more. So I don't want to go at 5/8. I want it to be a little bit more than a 1/16 of an inch on either side. So I'm going to come out at, half would be 8/16, 9, 10, 11/16. Oh, sorry for the 16ths there. No, it's not the favorite, but I basically just want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pretend, what I'm going to do to get these to match, the white sections are the same width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this one at, let's see, I'm going to trim it. I don't think I can make it overlap perfectly. It's too short. So I think I'm just going to cut off the red here, and I'll just use my scissors. I'm just going to cut the red off. So I'm cutting to the white. And I'll cut all the way to this green on this side. So I'll have a white end here, and I'll start with a full color. And that should work. I mean, it's not perfect. I've got like more of the green, but it kind of just flows outward. Maybe that works good. So we'll do that. grab some repo adhesive. Just making that colorful band, using up scraps. I used Staycation on a vacation album. I use the Fast to Fab, so I have a lot. I bought like 3 extra matte packs to use with it. So I have a bunch of various mattes left over. So this is a great way to use up the scraps. And I can make a few of these different bands because I can just continue to cut up that matte. Slice that off at one end, cut off the excess at the other. And then this is going to come across. Oh, I just love bringing in all of those stripes, all those colors of the Staycation collection. It matches the various things. So I've got the yellow in my background. I've got the blues on my walls. I've got the peachy tones and the browns and all sorts of good stuff. So that's really great there. So next up here at the top, the embellishments that I'm going to use, I'm going to have it say game night. And I could leave the reasons that I love this, but I really, really want to have the game night. I could do game night like right in the middle, and I could come in over here with family time. I mean, that's a great idea, right? Game night. Initially, I thought I would do the game night here, and then I can come in with some journaling. They have the individual journal lines there. I've got to figure out if I'm going to be able to journal everything I want in there. I might need to cut an actual journal box to go in that space. Then I still have the family time. I do kind of like, if I'm going to use the family time, I think I need to use it up here up here. I think it just fits better. It actually goes really nicely in that section, leaves all of that space. And then I could come in here with the game night. So now I'm sitting here looking at it and making that decision, and I can't decide. I really liked the game night up here because I think it just stands out more. I like that I feel like it just pops off the page a little bit better. And I'm not sure about this family time. I could come in and I can cut apart family time here. So Robin's asking where the game night embellishment from. This is from the Staycation collection, the embellishment pack. I honestly cannot remember if it's available. I know there was some Staycation items available. If you guys have not really played with Staycation, it's a great set. I mean, it really came out about staying all the at-home things we did because of COVID, but it's a really, really nice, versatile collection with a lot of great details in there for local travel, even a little bit of road traveling, at-home events, things like that. So I'm trying to decide. I don't know. Let me put everything together. Let me get this border put on, and then I will make my decision on my embellishments. I may have to hem and haw on that, guys, just a little. Oh, I do see somebody commenting. I could just cut this across, and I could have it say family game night or something like that. That would be fun too. So I'm going to line up my background on my cutting mat because I want to use the cutting mat to help me align this border. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and try to evenly go across the border. I could I'm going to come down just a little bit. Give myself a little bit more space up here around these larger elements. And then down here at the bottom, I will just make sure that I center those photos. I'm going to use repo adhesive for these, maybe just one little permanent And then when you're doing your photos like this, really what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is my husband, Cody, my middle child, and there's Cody again. I would like to make sure that they are opposite of each other. Now I can tell you here, I did have to trim my photos a little smaller. So I'm gonna have some spacing. I want it to touch in the middle. But my husband is looking this way, so I want to make sure he's on this side of the layout, looking that direction. And then, yeah, I think that's going to work. When I trimmed my photos, I did not do a great job of trimming them off of the from the 4x6 down to the 3x4. I was a little bit of a rush and I didn't take my time. And so one of the photos, let me see. It needs to be this one here. That's right. I guess the rule of thumb should be is don't rush when you're trying to cut things like photos because you just ultimately regret it. I didn't cut it straight and then I had to cut it again. I want to make sure that they meet at the 6-inch line. Trying to make sure that they get on here evenly. The even spacing at the top and the bottom. I'm a little high, I think. Which is why repo adhesive is so wonderful. Well, it's not perfect. I can have a little bit on this outside edge. That bothers me, but I won't let it bother me too much. I think once I get it in a page, it won't make a big deal. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and adhere these elements to their mats. So yeah, I see Belinda talking about the cutting the photos apart sometimes does seem to be, because if you don't get that exact space right, then you do have to trim a little, right? And when you're trimming just a little bit off of each side, it can ultimately end up, especially when you're trying to stack the photos right next to each other. So these just get centered on their respective mats. And then they get put on the layout. Okay, so there's the base layout. So now it's just time for any of the little embellishments. Oh, I am leaning towards, I don't know, maybe I will go that with the family time. Yeah, I'll probably go this route here. Or maybe, nope, it needs to be this stick up here because this game night is a little bit narrower. Yeah, I think I am going to go with this. I know, Vicki, so Vicki made the comment about having them snap a photo of me. I really should. I tried to do a selfie and it looked terrible. The angle was completely awful of me. And so I shall remain anonymous in this one. But that, I think, is going to be the layout there. I am super excited about this. I mean, if I had more photos, like I said, I could have peekaboo pocketed it, opened it up, and had like 6 photos of me right in there. But I don't. So it's all good. It's all good. I do like the idea of putting the foam stickers on there, giving it a little bit of extra, little bit of a pop off the page. I will have to, let's see, do I have my foam squares? I do. I have some foam squares. They're all the little ones. I have a tendency to use up the big ones. So let me see here. I can pop some little ones. The little ones probably work fine. We'll go overkill on this. It's not going to go anywhere. I don't use a whole lot of things like foam squares, but they can be fun. Lift that up. So there's game night. And then I will put this over on this side. Family time. Okay. So there we go. Now I just have to do a little bit of journaling, and that's going to take me a little bit because I feel like I have a lot to say, but I've only got, what is that, 5 lines to work with. So then I have to figure out whether I can make it work. Otherwise, I will have to come in maybe, and I'll just cut a little square box to put there to add some additional details. I write pretty small, which is actually, I don't know. I'll get it figured out. I probably will just photograph it as the way it is because then I can write anything in there that I want. I don't have to worry about it being out in the public. Not that my journaling is anything that spicy or secretive or anything like that, but you know, we try our best there. I do see there's a comment. I see the Vicky saying again, she's not in any of the photos at the family night. That honestly should be probably a goal really of 2024 is to try to be in more of the photos. And I'm the worst about this. I really, really am. I become very self-conscious that the angle didn't look good or whatever it may be. And then I don't like the photo. I don't want to open the album and see, oh, me, right? But I should just get over it. It took me, I will tell you guys, when I started doing videos, I could never listen to my own videos because I do not like the sound of my voice when it is recorded, but now I've gotten over it, right? I still might be pretty quick when I do accidentally pop up one of my videos like on YouTube or something like, no, close it down. I don't necessarily want to listen to it, but it's not quite as I don't know, appalling to myself of that start, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to listen to this. So make it 2024, make it so you take 24 selfie photos, or you have to be in 24 of your layouts or things like that. I know, and there's Kim over there saying when I'm gone, my kids, well, they'll want to see their mom. And in all honesty, I think like looking back, I did portrait photography for a very, very long time. And I did a lot of maternity and newborn photography. And I always told the women that when they're coming in with their newborns, they didn't want to be like, they're like, lady, I just gave birth to a baby, right? I do not need to be in these photos. And I'm trying to tell them like, no, you want to be. You may not want to look at those photos right now, but when you have a 5-year-old that is running around the house drawing on the walls, when you have a teenager who is being sassy with you and just you're questioning your life choices, you can go back to those photos and you're 5 years younger, you're 10, 15 years younger, and you're like, hey, that was pretty good. So I try to tell myself that it may be hard sometimes to look at those photos right now, but 5 years from now, it's not going to feel so hard. I'll go back and I'll want them to be there. So keep that in mind as you're taking your photos. Let's not be so hard on ourselves. For those of you that are like me and you struggle, I should just not be so hard on myself. All right, so that's what I've got for you today. Judy's talking about anticipating a new background in Arizona. Probably what I should do is I could just go on, I should find out whether I can do like a fake background. I don't do this via Zoom, so I don't have like the little, like the ability. Zoom has that built-in AI that you can like just put like cactus behind you or whatever it may be. But next week I will have a little bit of a surprise. I will be shooting from a new location. It's not very far. It's about 10 feet higher than where I currently am. But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it actually, to be able to make some adjustments within our own house. So that'll be fun. I do see a question from Wanda, and I will, my family is going to be relocating back to Arizona. I was in Arizona from 1998 to 2015 when we relocated to Washington for my husband's job. So we've always kind of missed Arizona. We, really tried to get in with the Washington stuff, but we really struggle in the winter. We're just so used to so much sunshine. And my family is there. My parents winter. My brother lives there. So our middle child is graduating this year, and it's the best time for us to go ahead and relocate. And poor Cody, he's going to have to figure out what it's like to be in Arizona. He was born in Arizona, but he's like a Washingtonian, right? He's lived here since he was 6 months old. So the other question I saw was there was the comments about the trimmer being a little bit squeaky. And I'm assuming you're talking about the arm on the or the regular trimmer. Is that correct? Is that this one here being a little squeaky? I am not 100% sure what to recommend on that one. I think it's a plastic on plastic trimming. So I don't know if just I don't want to say use oil, right? Because we don't need to be getting any oil and stuff around our supplies that won't do what we want it to do. So I'm going to do a bit of investigation on that one and find out what to do if you have a squeaky trimmer. I have a squeaky personal trimmer, because it's an old personal trimmer. I have this old squeaky one, and that is metal on metal. And I think I could come in with a little bit of oil and probably get that one, but I'd have to play around with a little bit. But I will investigate. I will find out what are some options to do. So yes, that will be good. Yeah, Jill's correct. I am moving upstairs. I've been downstairs in the guest room, but we have some progress that we need to make towards getting our house ready to sell. And between my parents are going to come for a visit and everything like that, it's just going to be easier if we get this room back to being a guest room. My oldest is at college and he's got an apartment. He plans to stay there. He's not a big fan of coming home. We're kind of crazy here. He just, his little brother's annoying and mom and dad have, rules and expectations. They're pretty minimal though, I will say. So we probably won't see him until later this spring. So we're going to just do some shuffling. All right. So my takeaway is going to be investigate a little bit on the squeaky on the trimmer, and we'll see what our options are there. And if you guys have any questions or anything, shoot me a message. Things going on this month. Next week is Power Hour. It's going to be January 9th in the evening. And then, the move, it'll be in June. We'll probably be in Phoenix by July 1st. That's our goal. School goes here pretty late. My child does not graduate until June 15th. And so our plan is to get to Arizona by July 1st. Cody would start school in Arizona middle of August. They start much earlier than Washington does. And I think my middle child's going to they're planning to go to NAU in Flagstaff. That's the goal there. So we want to get down and get settled so that we can get everybody off to school in the appropriate time frame. So like I said, we have Power Hour next week on January 9th. Next week is also the virtual crop next Friday, so a week from this Friday. We just had a launch this week with Creative Memories. Make sure you check it out. There is the new This Life collection, and that rainbow refresh organizing bundle is back in stock. Also, one thing I want to highlight, the lifter stick. If you guys before, the lifter stick was an advisor exclusive. It was only available to advisors it was an incentive item, and then it was an advisor exclusive for Croptoberfest. And then it's now available in the regular lineup. So you can grab one of these if you don't have one already, or maybe you need a second one because you're like me and you misplace the first one all the time. So anyway, the other one I think I want to tell you about is Winter Frolic. So Tessa and I are doing our annual scrap challenge. It's Winter Frolic Scrap Challenge. It just started on the 1st. Tessa has posted her first challenge layout. Tomorrow she'll have a throwback layout. Next week I have, it's my week to share some content. So if you're looking for some ideas and inspiration and just a sense of fellowship with your fellow scrappers that are working their way through the winters, give it a check. You can check it out. It's at megganandtessa.com. There's details and information there. It's a very fun time. So I think that's all I have for you guys. I will be back next week with Scrapbook Live. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we'll do something. And Power Hour. And I think that's all I've got for you guys right now. So Okay, everybody take care. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Yes, I'm so glad Vicky's saying she's enjoying Winter Frolic. I love hearing that. It's a great time. It does truly makes the first 8 weeks of the year go by very, very fast. So, which is great because then we're like 2/3 of the way through winter. Perfect for me, right? Okay, everybody take care. I will see you all next week. Shoot me a message if you have any questions. Always happy to help. Thanks for watching.